It feels like the old Cold War spy games are back, but with a whole new set of players. Today, it's all about the US versus China, and the headlines are just packed with stories of military espionage. But we're about to dive into a story that kind of flips that whole script. A story about secrets, incredible power, and the truly mysterious disappearance of one of China's most powerful men.
So, that brings us to the big question, the one at the heart of all this. Where in the world is General Zheng Youxia? This is a man at the absolute peak of China's military power, who has, well, seemingly just vanished. And now, everyone wants to know why.
Okay, so you might be thinking, why is one general's disappearance such a huge deal? Well, to get why this is sending shockwaves across the globe, you first have to understand who we're talking about. This is not just any general. This is Zheng Youxia, a man widely seen as President Xi Jinping's right-hand man, his closest and most trusted military ally. I mean, just take a look at his resume. This isn't just some guy in a uniform. He sits right at the very heart of China's entire power structure. As the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, he's basically the #2 guy in the entire military. He's also a member of the Politburo, which puts him in the Communist Party's inner circle. On top of that, he's one of the few top brass with actual combat experience, and he was a key player in modernizing the army. You see the point here, right? This guy isn't just a soldier, he's a pillar of the Chinese state. And then, poof, he was gone. His last confirmed public sighting was in late November. He was in Russia for some high-level military talks. After that, radio silence. And that little detail, that specific date, is what turns this whole thing from a bunch of rumors into a very real, very tangible mystery. Okay, and this is where things get really interesting, because the story basically forks in the road. Two completely different narratives pop up to explain what's going on. One, coming from Western media, is an absolute bombshell. The other, coming straight from Beijing, is a lot quieter, but it points to something just as serious.
So on one side, you've got this explosive story from the Wall Street Journal, and it's a double whammy. It's alleging the ultimate betrayal, leaking nuclear secrets to the United States, and it throws in the classic accusations of corruption, taking bribes, abusing his power. Then on the other side, you have the official line from Beijing. General Zhang is being investigated for serious violations of discipline and law. Now that phrase is deliberately vague. It's actually a hallmark of President Xi's purges, and it leaves the rest of us just guessing what the real crime was.
Now, to really get just how massive this is, we got to zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. None of this is happening in a vacuum. It's all playing out against this backdrop of a really high-stakes geopolitical game and a military balance of power that's changing faster than ever.
And this number right here, this tells you everything you need to know about the stakes. According to US estimates, China is beefing up its nuclear arsenal like crazy, faster than anyone else. They're on track to have 1,000 nuclear warheads by 2030. Think about that. Any intelligence leak related to this program would be one of the biggest security breaches of the 21st century. Period.
And what's crazy is the timing of all this. It's happening right as China hits this huge military milestone, achieving a nuclear triad. That means they can launch nuclear weapons from land, from the air, and from the sea. That's a club very few nations are in, and Beijing has only just started showing it off. With this new level of power, you can bet that intelligence on their command structure is more valuable than it has ever been.
So you've got these two totally different stories, and the stakes couldn't be higher. What are people actually saying about all this? Well, the court of public opinion is, as you can imagine, pretty divided. Let's look at a few of the key takes.
First up, there's this really cynical take from a commentator named Hakim. He just says, "I think all these charges are fabricated. History teaches us that." This view suggests the real reason behind all this is political. It's a purge. And it fits a pattern we've seen under President Xi, who has a history of systematically removing anyone, rivals, even powerful allies, to tighten his grip on power. For him, loyalty is everything, and anyone who gets too powerful can suddenly become a target.
All right, but then you have a much more cautious take from Shuaib. He points out, look, the whole spying claim is basically from one newspaper, while the corruption charges fit Beijing's usual playbook perfectly. His point is, given how secretive China is about everything, we should probably be pretty skeptical of the most dramatic story out there. I really think this next comment from Saber gets right to the heart of it for China's image on the world stage. He says, you can't be a superpower if you're exposed from within. And he's right. It doesn't really matter if it's a spy or a corrupt official. The whole episode just raises some really serious questions about the stability of the entire system, right at the very top.
And finally, let's look at this from another angle. A commentator named Hibatullah basically says, hey, this is just part of the game. America is also infiltrated, she says, calling it a battle of brains between superpowers. From this perspective, the general's fall isn't necessarily a failure for China, but just one move on a much, much larger chessboard in an ongoing intelligence war.
So, at the end of the day, that leaves us right back where we started, with this one massive question. Is the disappearance of China's most senior general the result of a devastating intelligence breach that laid its biggest secrets bare? Or is he just the latest victim of a ruthless internal power struggle, where those spy claims are just a convenient cover story? The answer, whatever it is, has some huge implications for global security and the future of this new Cold War.